This episode of Lunduke Show is brought to you by System 76, dedicated to making the best machines for developers and engineers and makers and whatnot. And of course, they run Linux. Find out more at system76.com and Pogo Linux. Pogo's trusted advisors have been delivering open source technologies to the IT community since 1999. Find out more at pogolinux.com. And of course, viewers like you. Today, my dear viewers, we are tackling one of the most critical questions of all time. What is the best internet search engine? Not now, not in the future, not what was the best internet search engine of 2016 or something like that. All time. This is all the way back to the beginning of internet search engines. Now, we could come at this from many different scientific angles. We could say what internet search engine had the most usage, what one was won the most awards and whatnot. And those are fine. Those are totally acceptable ways to decide what's the best. But they're not the funnest. The funnest would be to simply ask this question on Twitter and put up a poll. So that's what we did here. And here are the results. Coming in at number 4, Archie. What? Yes, Archie. For those of you who are under, 25, 30, whatever the cutoff line is, that may not remember Archie. Archie truly was the granddaddy of internet search engines. It basically indexed FTP servers and made a web-accessible search interface for them. And that came in with 9% of all of the nerds that are over on Twitter voted for Archie. So I kind of agree. Archie deserves to be on this list. Definitely in the top 4 or 5. Number 3. Oh, wait a minute. Here's Archie. This is what Archie looks like currently. And if you go to that address at the top, you can actually still use Archie to this day. It doesn't look exactly the same as it did back in 1980, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't look all that much different either. So there you go. Archie, the granddaddy. Number 3. Veronica. Yeah. Veronica was a Gopher equivalent of Archie. It basically was what Archie was, except for Gopher. Now, I hear many of you saying, what the heck is Gopher? Look it up on the internet, go over to YouTube, find out, because Gopher is friggin' rad. Gopher could have been the internet, the web that we know of today, but the WWW, the World Wide Web, kind of usurped Gopher. Gopher was a very, very cool system, cool protocol, and Veronica was a search engine for it, and 20% of all nerds said that search engine, Veronica, was the bee's knees of all search engines ever. Hardcore, major statement. Number 3, wait, here's what it looks like. It doesn't look like much, I know, but hey, check that out. Running Mosaic. Not just Mosaic, but CompuServe's version of Mosaic. CompuServe Mosaic, this was back in 1990 something, early on. And there you go. Very, very simple. If finding a running server of Veronica might be a little challenging nowadays. I haven't looked around recently, but someone might have an implementation up and going somewhere. Not a lot of people use Gopher anymore, unfortunately. Number 3, Lycos. 29% of you said Lycos. Now, this is not that surprising. A lot of people used Lycos back in the 90s. This was kind of one of the big first commercially successful search engines. Now, I have a screenshot here of Lycos. I believe this version of Lycos was from 1995, 94, something like that. So not the beginning of Lycos. When Lycos first started, it didn't look quite that snazzy, but this is what Lycos was back in the mid-90s. And it was the queen of search engines. It was awesome. It let you search engines. And in fact, if you go look on archive.org on the Wayback Machine and you look at lycos.com, go all the way back to the beginning, the earliest one, you'll notice at the bottom it actually had a link for submitting your website to Lycos so that it could get crawled. That was really common with search engines back then. You a lot of times had to go around and add sites that you wanted to be indexed by these search engines to the sites themselves. Nowadays, the massive crawlers just crawl everywhere on the web, finding all sorts of shenanigans and trouble to get into. But Lycos. Now, we talked about number 4, was Archie. Number 3 was Veronica. Number 2, Lycos. What on earth could the first one be? The number one. The one search engine that nerds around the world think is the best, with little asterisks and all caps, best search engine of all time. That answer was pretty simple, apparently. 42% of you said Bing. That's right, Bing. Bing won this poll handily. It absolutely is distressing to your your host today. This is Bing. I don't really have a whole lot of commentary on this, but 42 of you chose Bing over the first search engine ever, the main Gopher search engine, and the first commercially successful search engine. So I guess I'm in the wrong industry. However, now let's take a look at this right there. It kind of was a almost perfect stair-step pattern if you look at it. That's absolutely phenomenal. Now, when I put this up on Twitter, I got a message from the folks over at DuckDuckGo. And if you don't know DuckDuckGo, go over to duckduckgo.com and you can search there. It's a web search engine that I use quite a bit. And they said, "Hey, this is a difficult choice. Can we phone a friend?" And I thought, you know what, this is pretty cute. This is cool that the folks behind another search engine are like, hey, they're kind of play along with this, right? So I asked, hey, I want to know who they vote for. Who did you vote for, DuckDuckGo, on the record? And they said, and I quote, "Very tricky. So in the end, we added a fifth option with a sticky note on the screen. Seemed like a good compromise." Yes, it did, DuckDuckGo. Yes, it did. At least you didn't vote for Bing.